Today we're going to talk about how you would make sprinkler head adjustments. The most typical time you're doing this is going to be in the springtime when you're first starting up your sprinkler system. Over the winter, sometimes heads can go out of adjustment, people walking on them, stepping on them, or maybe through last summer they went out of adjustment a little bit and they need some fine tuning. In addition, it's not uncommon for the sprinkler head to have some grass, sod, dirt to get covering the top of it. And so just down below me in front of me we've got a sprinkler head here that we're going to take a look at, and then we've got some example heads here that are not attached to a sprinkler system. So this is what the sprinkler head down in the ground typically looks like. These are two different brands of pop-up sprinkler heads, and by pop-up what we mean is that when this water comes on, this part right here will pop up out, and then the water will spray out of it to water your yard, and when it's done spraying, there's a spring that pulls that pop-up back down into the head. And so we've got a head in front of me here in this sod area, and as I mentioned just a moment ago, we've actually got some grass kind of covering the top of that. So each spring, one of the things you probably want to do is come out here and kind of clear it away, and you might need to use a small little gardening spade or something like that to just get it where it's nice and clear and the pop-up has room to pop up. And so I'm going to show you this one's pop-up part just by grabbing it with this little 5-in-1 tool here and lifting up on it. And so there it is, popped up out of the sprinkler as the water would cause it to do when the water comes on. There's a spring right now, and so it's under tension. If I let go, it pops back down in, and that's the way it would work when the sprinkler system is going. So what we're actually going to do is go inside, and we're going to just use these two little props and a little piece of carpet as our pretend sod area, and we'll talk about the adjustments you could make. It'll just be a little bit easier to work with these two, but you have to visualize that you're not going to be holding these in your hand when you're doing it. What you're going to be doing is working on a sprinkler in the ground like this. Some of these adjustments you can make when the sprinkler system is sitting idle. A lot of them are easier to do when the sprinkler system is running. And then you're probably going to get a little bit wet because you're going to have sprinkler systems across the way spraying this way, this head spraying that way. That's just part of the process in the springtime of getting all your sprinkler heads set up and ready to go. So let's head inside. So we're inside now, and we're going to go ahead and talk about adjusting the sprinkler head some more. And so we're going to pretend that this carpeted area is an area of sod that we're wanting to water. Usually you've got a bigger area of sod than this that you're trying to water, and it's not always such just a perfect rectangular shape. But for the sake of discussion and an example showing, this is what we're going to use. And so again, we've got our two pop-up head bodies. Normally, once again, these are buried in the ground as they were out there, and all you would be seeing is the very top of these heads. And they'd be oriented like that, and you'd be seeing the top of them. So a couple of tools here that we got is this little painter's tool. A lot of people call it a 5-in-1 or 6-in-1. And I've got a toothbrush here. And we'll show you what both of these can be used for. So in looking at these heads, there's a couple of variety of heads. Some heads are a fixed spray pattern, and it turns out that this head right here is a fixed spray pattern. It's going to spray that direction in a 180-degree arc, and it can't be adjusted to do more or less than a 180-degree arc. It could be spun like that within the body of the head, but it's always going to be spraying a 180-degree arc. This head right here has an adjustable arc. So we could go from a very thin spray pattern and make it a wider spray pattern and a wider spray pattern, all the way from basically almost nothing to 360 degrees. Typically, a fixed head like this, where it's got a particular spray pattern, is going to go in a corner, because they make 90-degree patterns as well, or this particular head would go in a location, if this was our sod area, such as this, so that it would spray out this direction, covering this, this 180-degree arc right here. You could use a head like this here as well, and just make it using the adjustability so that it did the 180-degree arc. The nice thing about a head like this is you could use it here, or you could use it at a location like this and just adjust it so that it was a 90-degree arc. Or if you had saw that did that, you could adjust it so that it covered that, and everything in between. So some of your houses are going to have heads like this in some places, and some of them are going to have fixed heads in places where fixed heads are appropriate. And so let's take a look at a couple of the adjustments that you're typically going to do in the springtime on a sprinkler head. And again, you might be doing this while the system is running, and you might be doing this while the system is sitting still, not running. And so by using this tool here, I'm just going to get this pop-up up a little bit so that we can see it a little bit better. And it's spring-loaded. It's trying to snap back down into the body of the sprinkler head right now. And again, this one is adjustable. So we're hoping that this video is going to show the adjustability capability pretty good. It's this opening across here that water is going to spray out of from there to there. And I can make that opening wider by spinning this top. And so now the opening goes from there to there. Or I could make it much narrower by spinning the top, and the opening goes from there to there. And so again, this one could be adjusted in what coverage you want. And so these could come out of adjustment, and you may need to make a small adjustment such that if this was in a corner, that you adjusted so that the arc was just covering your 90 degrees. Another thing that you're typically going to do with sprinkler heads, or you might need to adjust from time to time, using this little silver screw on the top, a small screwdriver or the tip here of this tool can be used to spin that screw. And in spinning that screw, what we're doing is if we spin it counterclockwise, the water will just spray out further. If we spin it in clockwise, the water won't spray out as far. It's not adjusting our arc, the pattern, it's adjusting how far does the water spray out. One other thing that you would typically do, or a couple other things that you would do in the springtime, is it's not uncommon to get some dirt or debris in this little opening here where the water sprays out. So if you took something like a toothbrush or a small wire brush while the sprinkler system's going and just brush that out, you'll tend to get a better pattern and more consistent pattern. Another thing that you might need to do is sometimes you'll get some sediment or some debris within this part, and there's a little filter below the top here that we call the nozzle. And to get to that filter, the pop-up needs to be popped up, and then from here up is going to come off this pop-up part. And I'm going to unthread that right now and take this top, the nozzle, off. And you can get replacement nozzles too if you were to break a nozzle at a home improvement store. There's a little filter here. Sometimes you'll get some sediment or some debris caught on this little screen. You could use your toothbrush to brush that off, then fit the filter back down in, thread the nozzle back on. When you're done threading it on, it wouldn't be uncommon that it ended up being a slightly different position and you'd have to adjust your arc again. Another thing that you can do is this pop-up can be ratcheted within the body of the sprinkler, and you can adjust the arc in that way too. And so I'm grabbing this, and it takes a relatively firm grab, and I'm going to just spin it. I'm going to hold the body of the sprinkler still, and I'm now ratcheting a click at a time the pop-up part. And so I could reposition without adjusting the arc. I could reposition the arc, so I could have my 90-degree arc here and spin it so my 90-degree arc is there, or my 90-degree arc is over there, by just having the body hold still and grabbing the pop-up part and spinning it one way or the other. And so I'm going to let go of this, and again, it's spring-loaded, it's popping back down in there. And both of the heads, this head that has a fully adjustable pattern and the head over there that has a fixed pattern, have that ratcheting feature that you could adjust it in that way. And so those are the main things you would do in the spring. You're going to want to get again, while it's running is typically the easiest way, because then you can tell if the adjustments that you're making are being effective. is you're going to adjust the screw to adjust how far it goes. You're going to use the adjustment capability here, or the ratcheting capability here, to get your arc so that it's just watering the sod and not watering the non-sod areas. And you'll probably clean out the nozzle and or the little screen filter on the inside using a toothbrush. And if you got any questions about those simple adjustments on some of your sprinkler heads, feel free to shoot us an email at warranty@infinityhomecollection.com. Thanks.